Yo, what's up guys? A video on the level 70 skills of Orbia. I am planning to also make the video on the level 70 skills of both Cleave and Kina, but I don't have that much information about them yet, and I'm very familiar with the level 70 skills of Orbia, so that's the first video I of course make. So level 70 skills, what is it actually? Well, the moment you hit level 70, you have this thing over here where you can switch your skills. It costs about 10 skill books for each individual skill. So in the case of Orbia, we get S1s for the 3 normal elements, so that is everything except light and dark. And then for Cleave, it is S2, and for Kina, it's also S2, if I'm not mistaken. So what kind of skills do we have? Let's first start off with this one. So the normal skill we have over here is damage skill. It splashes if there's already burning. You add extra burning time and an extra burning, pretty much. What does it change to? This one is also 6 seconds. I think that I didn't notice the first time that I was using them, because you might just be like, okay, level 70 skills are probably better than the old skills, right? Actually, I was kind of disappointed by that, and after using them for a while, they're not really, because some of these skills have just way longer cooldown, because 6 to 10, that's quite a bit worse. So in this case, we have fire that has burning, and if it has 3 plus burning, you would stun. So stun on S1 is very nice. But 3 plus burning is quite some, and I actually noticed you don't really get towards 3 plus burning most of the time. And the burning rate on it itself is 35. The skill animation is pretty fast though, like the thing, it goes pretty freaking fast for how fast that goes. That's just, I was like definitely surprised about that. The AoE seems pretty decent, but like I said, the cooldown is a lot longer than the other one. So would you say using this skill or not using this skill? Because that's the question of this video pretty much. Would you use those skills? Where would you use them? And if you would use them in the first place. So the thing is, this fire one, while it shows a lot bigger of an AoE in here than it actually is in game, but half fair is fair, I would probably not use this. Because to be honest, I only use fire in Seal. And in Seal, you definitely just want to add more burning rate with this skill. So that's just straight up that. This one is just better for that. If you have a team that burns a lot in, for example, a specific stage, if you have a lot of burning and then therefore you can stun, then this skill becomes very nice, because this stun is actually pretty long. Or if it's 65 rate, I don't really like 65 rates as well. So I would say fire skill, I wouldn't use it. But then again, fire is also the element of Orbia, which is used probably the least. Then we have the water one. Water one, normally, you probably know, it freezes. It has a good amount of freeze, like 3.2 seconds. That's actually a good amount of freeze. It goes all the way to 3.5. Very nice skill, 7 seconds cooldowns. But we can switch that to a 12-second cooldown. Once again, like the cooldown is very lengthy. But what skill do we have over here? So this is a double hit. So it hits, it pushes back, and then it hits again, and it roots. That sounds very good for example, Battlefield and those kind of things. But the issue is, in Battlefield, you cannot really use this skill to catch up to someone. Like, you're walking behind someone, you throw this skill, they just walk out of it. So this only works if you're standing in the middle of shit, which in Orbia in most cases is not really going to do. So this is a lot more close range. So I can actually check like the ranges of these two skills. So if we go for this, the range like is this. Like, it's super fucking close in your face that you actually have to walk towards it. Like, it's pretty much something like this. Wait, there's so many people around here. Let's go again for the cooldown. I think it's about like this range. Yeah, it's like legit even close. So you really have to stand in someone's face to have that skill working. And that's not really what you like as an Orbia. So just for reference, let's go back to this skill. How much is it for the range on this? That is a lot further. It's literally this compared to this. So that's definitely something we miss in this game as well. Like, they are doing a very good job of showing, like, okay, what is the damage multipliers? How long do you freeze? That kind of stuff. The only thing that I miss is what is the range to hit and what is the splash radius. Like, your range of your skill and splash radius, or just radius of AoE, is very important. And I would really like Cantus to add in that information, because that is very important for a lot of skills. Because some skills, like, you have a bunch of units that provoke with like a very small radius, a bunch of units that provoke with a very big radius. Theor is small, for example, Shungfei is big. That's things that you want to know, right? So I really hope they would add those things in. But back to this skill. So we have a slow, we have a push, and then we have another slow. Wait, does it actually add 2 slows? Well, I guess it would add 2 slows. That does kind of make sense. But, and then we have a root. The root is 8 seconds. That is very long. But once again, where would you use this? Would you use this in normal PvP? Actually, no. Like you might ask, like, do you actually use water in PvP? Yes, actually, water is my main to-go weapon for arena offense. And how I do that is mainly by this skill. So I kind of need that S1 on water to make it work because I tried it with the other S1, but since this is not a stun, this is just a root, a pushback and a root. So there's no stun. So also the additional skills that you have increase the CC. Yeah, that's cool and all, but you increase a root. Espinos can still hit you. Thessarians can still hit your units. If you freeze them and you extend that, you fuck people up bad time. So you definitely want to have like your S1 on water. So once again, fire S1, probably the original is better. Water, and unfortunately, the original seems better. So that's kind of the sad part about it. So yeah, definitely I would keep the original one if you use this in arena offense, like just your normal offense. Would you use this too much in like Brawl, for example? Not really. Would you use this in battlefields? Because in battlefields, a lot of people are walking around with Thessarians, fire units, segments. They fuck you up with those kind of units. Is it useful to go for an Orbia water to kind of counter that? To a certain extent, because if you freeze someone for a very long time, and your team catches up and starts killing things, or you freeze the unit, so therefore they cannot hit. People are like often stacked, and this is a pretty nice freeze combination, those two skills. So I would definitely say that water is not bad for battlefields. The only big issue is where I don't really like water is because water is missing this skill where you ignore the depth denial effects. And this is probably your best skill in the game for kill steals. Oh, and Orbia is on low HP S1, you ignore that passive. Oh, a Cleave is running around with Endure and 1 HP, S1, you steal that kill. So I still really like Wind for that. That also right away transitions into the Wind skills. What do we have on Wind? So we have a damage increase based on like how many harmful effects, and it ignores the death denial effect. And we have an attack down and then also splash damage. So the death denial is very strong. That's insanely strong. For harmful effects, you add some more damage, and therefore also Wind is probably your main to go, as you probably know, for raids or doing any damage anywhere. What do we have in the other one? So once again, we go from a 6 seconds to a 10 seconds, which is already sad. Like I really like those 6 seconds fast, quick paces of your skill ones. But this one is a lot slower. So what do we have over here? We have 3 hits of 50. So that is already 3 hits of 82 on a lower cooldown. So that is a bit worse. We do have Electric Shock. And Electric Shock, wait, can I actually see? No, let me go to showing you Electric Shock. If we go for skills, harmful effects, for the people that don't know it, you can check all of the skills over here. Electric Shock is actually the strongest debuff or the strongest dot in the game because it starts at 1.5 and it finishes at 7.3. If we check that, for example, another debuff, let's just say Frostbite. Frostbite is 1, finishes at 5. But there's another additional thing to it, like lowers something else. But Electric Shock, as far as I know, there's no additional thing to it. Yeah, it's just a lot of damage. This is by far the strongest dot that you can have in the game. So Electric Shock, for that reason, is pretty nice to add in extra damage. But does it make it useful for Orbia in general? So if we go back to this, we have 3 gusts. It is very likely that it's a bigger of an AoE thing than this skill for sure for the splash, because if we check this skill, if we equip it and we go for an S1, you can see that this has a pretty decent area radius. Like sure, you target 1 unit, but it's very likely you hit things on the side as well. But is it better? That's the big question. Well, what else do we have? If there is, if the target has 3 or more harmful effects per hit, you go for extra damage. So that actually adds the extra damage to quite a lot, plus defense penetration. So that makes it right away for anything raids or guild raids or like damage related where there's more debuffs on the enemy for sure. This skill is better, 100%. I think even with the lower cooltime and also you applying Electric Shock, which is somewhat of a rare dot as well, because sure, Cleaves on Wind have it, but Cleave have a very strong Fire S2, which probably will take them in Fire S2 in PvE. So therefore Orbia can actually be the Electric Shocker, which I think is very nice. So for PvE kind of related stuff, definitely this skill 100% better. If you think about PvP kind of stuff, I have been using this skill quite some in PvP. I noticed for just normal arena stuff, like the arena challenge, I still like this skill more because you can throw it more often. Plus, for example, towards an Espino, I rather have Espino on an attack down than I have Electric Shock on him, for example. Or if I target an Orbia, I rather have Orbia on an attack down than Electric Shock. So for that reason, plus this skill you can kind of walk out of. This skill you can't. So for Challenge Arena, I still like this skill more. For Brawl, however, I have been in scenarios where you have more of bruiser fights mostly. That's what I mostly see in Brawls. You don't really have those snipe fights. And in bruiser fights, actually the electric shock kind of adds up at some point, and you have more targets like standing on each other. So in Brawl, I actually like this skill more. Then in Battlefield, I definitely like this skill more like 100%. This skill is way better in Battlefield than this. You don't want to use this in Battlefield at all because you want to steal those kills on Orbia as one, like 100% for that. So what is the end verdict of where to use those things? Well, to be honest, fire, I just don't use it, which is sad. Like this thing needs somewhat of a buff. Like I think 3 burning is quite high, and then even the stun rate is not that high. So I feel like this skill is not as great. This skill seems nice at first glance. It looks like, oh, that's so strong, like a root and that kind of shit. It's cool, but if you trade that off for a stun, a freeze, I'd rather have the freeze, man. So this one, once again, I won't use this one. I will always keep this one pretty much. I actually have been running this one for quite a while where I know it's like, wait, it's actually a lot worse because 12 seconds to 7 seconds is big gaps as well. Then for this one, I would say situational. PvE, definitely Tornado. PvP related, Brawl, I would still go for Tornado. Arena stuff, I still go for Wind Bolt. Also, I noticed I have Orbia Wind on defense. Wind Bolt is stronger on defense too, because people are trying to snipe your Orbia, trying to kill stuff. You having your skill up more faster is probably the way that you're actually going to clear shit. So I actually, for this one, I do also like Wind Bolt rather than Tornado for arena defense. But for arena offense, however, also Wind Bolt, but for Brawl, Tornado. So yeah, that's pretty much that for Orbia. So actually kind of sad that only 1 out of 3 is good, but then even situational good. I am planning to make that video as well for Cleave and for Kina. For Cleave, I do know that Water 1 very strong, Fire 1 very strong, Wind 1 is used, but I'm not sure if it's stronger or not. And in all honesty, for Kina, I have no clue about all of them, but I definitely figured that out. I'll probably talk to some Kina and some Cleave players and then talk about those and then see where they say it's useful or not useful. But that will be one of the few future videos. So if you would like to see more of that, like this video and subscribe to the channel. And see you in the next one.